So you might have heard of the fight or flight response. That's kind of something that I think has gotten into our vocabulary a little bit. And it's basically something it's super observable in animals. So that's kind of the best way to start, I think. And a way to think about it is when people tell you that a certain animal is more afraid of you than you are of it, like you might encounter like a scary raccoon or something like that. No, it's more afraid of you than you are of it. Well, it usually is, and the reason why this is a good thing for you is that when threatened, a lot of animals will just run away. And that's usually true if the animal can get away, so if it's not cornered. Sometimes, though, this threat, sort of a threat, like a person standing in front of it, will actually provoke a fight response instead. And the reason this is true is because both of these responses, so running away and fighting, are basically the result of what's called an aroused sympathetic nervous system. And when this happens, so when your sympathetic nervous system is aroused, you basically get sort of hepped up to do one of two things. You either are going to fight or you're going to flee, you're going to run away. Now, to understand this a little better, we kind of have to go over what the sympathetic nervous system is. And so just in brief, it's a part of the autonomic nervous system. And this is basically just a part of your brain's communication with your body that isn't conscious. So it's not like when you decide, hey, I'm going to move my arm. Like, look, it moved. Like, that's not your autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system is things that you don't even know are going on, like your breathing, your digestion, and this autonomic part is divided again into two parts. Within autonomic, we've got parasympathetic and sympathetic, and your parasympathetic is sort of dealing with things in like a resting state. So things like digesting your food, salivating, like if you're going to cry, tear production, so keep your eyes all moist and happy. And your sympathetic nervous system is what gets going when you're ready for action. And that's why it's important for fight or flight, because what it does is it readies your muscles to go. And if you think about it, right, fighting and running away are basically require the same sort of muscle preparation. You might, crouch down or tense up, and your sympathetic nervous system is sending out all sorts of signals to help you do this. And it's mediated by certain parts of your body, and they're known as the HPA axis. It's called an axis because it's just three things that kind of work all together, so you can think about it as sort of a little system. And one of them is called the hypothalamus, and that's a part of your brain that you might have heard about in a lesson about the brain. And your pituitary gland, this is also in the brain, and also your adrenal glands. And these are not in the brain, these are near your kidneys. It's kind of random. But you can just remember it, you've got two in the brain, hypothalamus, pituitary, and one random guy just hanging out down by your kidneys. That's your HPA axis. And what this does is it sends out hormones like adrenaline, that probably sounds pretty familiar, like adrenaline, to get you going. And so this is, again, so when you're in a situation where you need to fight or flee, your HPA axis is sending out these adrenaline hormones because your sympathetic nervous system is getting going. And people say this, right? Like, if you're about to do something intense in sports, that is what's happening when you're trying to get all, excited to do something important in a sports game. And your body actually has a lot of kind of interesting reactions to this besides just getting ready to fight or flee. And you may have noticed some of these as well. What it does is it gets your heart racing. That's probably pretty obvious. You probably felt that. And also, it actually stops digestion. And this is something, it's kind of interesting because basically what your body's doing when it gets into this aroused sympathetic state is it's just saying, you know what, if there's anything that I don't need to be doing right now, I'm just going to stop. So anything that your parasympathetic was taking care of that was kind of like maintenance, long-term things, sympathetic says no. We're going to stop digesting. We're going to stop, like it cuts off your peripheral vision because you don't need to see what's going on the side. You just need to see what's going on right in front of you. Basically shuts down your body to do anything but focus on the problem at hand and whether you're going to run or you're going to stand there and fight it. Now, animals do some pretty crazy things when their fight or flight responses are activated. And these are things like, like octopuses and squids. They shoot ink, right? There's that Finding Nemo scene. Oh, you guys made me ink. That's basically what's going on there. Their sympathetic nervous systems are active, and that's their way. Camouflage is sort of a manifestation of the fight or flight response. It's saying, how can I get away, basically? And hiding is one of those things. And also, pufferfish, right? When they get all big, they're so cute and they're small, and then they get all big. That's the fight or flight response in action, because it's trying to help you evade capture by looking scary. So the animal world gets pretty crazy with this stuff. People, not so crazy. We don't change colors. We don't shoot ink. We don't get big. Nothing exciting like that happens. But it is the same basic response. But the thing is, with humans, and with animals too to a certain extent, it's not always quite as immediate as you might think about it with like a pufferfish, like, that's right away. Because with humans, what happens a lot, like say you're walking down a street, it's dark, you see someone sketchy, it's not like this happens like right away that you either run or you go and you attack this guy. What it does is it puts you into a state of heightened awareness, basically. So your sympathetic nervous system is starting to be activated, and you get into the state of heightened awareness so that you watch for signs from other people, from the sketchy person, to figure out how you should react. And your body all the time is readying you for either fighting or fleeing. So it can do the same thing at once because they're the same basic response. It's the same muscle preparation. So it gives you sort of time to figure out what's the best situation. Because it's contextually dependent. Because rats will run away for sure. They're scared. They will run away if you try to approach them. But if they're in a corner, they will try to fight you because there's nothing else that they can do. So people are pretty much the same way, because you've probably been taught it's not that smart to just fight with random sketchy people. That's not gonna get you the best result, probably. But if you're cornered, you'll do it because that's what you have to do to survive. Again, this is why it's really important that fight and flight are both mediated by the sympathetic nervous system, because all it takes is your body gets this going, gets that HPA axis, that's your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and your adrenal, gets that pumping out adrenaline. Adrenaline even sounds like adrenal. That's a good way to remember that. So your sympathetic nervous system gets going, your HPA starts pumping adrenaline, you're ready to go. As soon as context determines what you should do, you can either fight or flee. Doesn't take very long to decide. And that's sort of one of nature's great ways to protect us and have us not get killed by sketchy people on the street or by predators if you're an animal. So yeah, that's the fight or flight response.